This is Sascha Riley, and there's so many problems with Sascha Riley. I don't even know where to begin. This is all obviously allegedly, but this individual supposedly an Epstein whistleblower, but the timeline is highly suspect here. And again, I mentioned this on the previous stream. So supposedly this individual is an Iraqi war veteran and alleges that there's all sorts of, I suppose, SRA. This would fall under the umbrella of SRA and snuff films. So this is not unlike the one and only Paul Bonacci. And the timeline is similar to Bonacci's. I mean, this is all alleged in the 80s. Which actually is one of the reasons it doesn't make a lot of sense. Not that this didn't happen, not that this might not be an MK Ultra individual, but it almost seems like he was MK Ultra into just inserting a couple names here. Because everything else is relatively consistent with Bonacci and other individuals who blew the whistle on this circle of scum and filth known as DC politicians. So, yeah, welcome Obese Tuna, Les Xylophones, Silver Bear 22, Dark Side of the Moon. Haven't seen Dark Side of the Moon in a bit. I believe Dark Side of the Moon is with us here since the Stephen Avery wrongful conviction. Regardless of whether Avery is innocent or guilty, clearly the conviction is a wrongful conviction, because if Teresa Hallback is even dead, if she's dead, clearly the crime went down nothing like how the prosecution alleges and was unable to provide any kind of legitimate proof of any kind. Welcome, Eric Petersman. So what are the potential issues? Like, let's go over just the quick rundown of Sascha Riley. Actually, before we get into that, I mean, is everybody... What makes this so strange, I think we should probably... Maybe we should go over... Should we go over Katie Johnson first? So, what's weird, and I guess this is a pretty good tactic to discredit all whistleblowers, because supposedly, so, okay, was this individual actually... So are they telling the truth about what happened to them and simply swapping a name? I mean, is that one of these conspiracies? Is that the real conspiracy here, and trying to get everybody to discredit everything? So there's a lot of issues with this testimony. And again, the coincidence theorist goofs or the TDS goofs, they're going to claim that she cannot be mistaken about the individual, even though, I mean, these are highly traumatized individuals that are also potentially MK Ultra. So apparently she canceled the press conference where she was going to reveal herself for the first time. She was too afraid, threats, etc. Now, when you have big, powerful people, when you're dealing with billionaires, I mean, they can make you disappear pretty easily. I mean, millionaires people make people disappear. Heck, drunken hillbillies can make people disappear for $500 in their little backwoods hamlets. So to think that there's people that can't be gotten to, so that's always an interesting question on why there are those who are allowed to speak publicly, like Bonacci himself. Because there were several people that were killed within the Franklin scandal, and Bonacci was one of the few who would not be intimidated. And he continued to testify regardless. But others were killed, and family members of others were killed, for those not familiar with the Franklin scandal. I don't know if there's coincidence there is still maintaining that was just mass hysteria and there was nothing to it. I mean, there's a lot of scum out there downplaying real victims. So, what's weird is I don't know how much of any of this is true, because supposedly there's some kind of a Democratic hoaxer that pushed this story. So this is Norm Lubau, using a pseudonym Al Taylor, promoted these claims. And so these hoaxers get pushed by these Democrats, and Norm Lubau, believe it or not, was a producer on the Jerry Springer show. You cannot make this stuff up. I mean, this is the gopher that's going on in the headlines that TDS goofs just fall for. And unfortunately, when you fall for this kind of stuff, if this is a real victim and he just swapped the name, or I don't know if he just manufactured this victim from the ether and she doesn't actually exist, or is just a different whatever. But it's obviously sicker if it is a real victim and they just pretend, with their TDS that it's Trump instead of the real people that did it, because then they get off. So this is Norm Lubau, Jerry Springer producer, that pushed this hoax. And when I say hoax, that's practically, these are the allegations that, and these are multiple lawsuits too. I mean, there's not just one. And this has all been known for a really long time. So, I mean, obviously TDS goof's not known for their ability to use the internet or do basic searches, basic preschool English. I mean, they're just not known for it. But, yeah, all of this information has been known for a really long time. So, yeah. And for those not familiar with Steven Seagal, the same thing happened to him. I mean, there's these Democrats kind of pushing these hoaxes against celebrities, telling people to make up stories. and then they're I went over that on the Steven Seagal series. They're all funded by these Democrat organizations. And so if these are real victims and they're just swapping the name, I mean, that's really sick. And now, is it possible? Because, again, there's just so many holes here on the surface. So the case was dropped. And again, there's no shortage of Democrats that would provide this woman with round-the-clock security if these claims were true. What's messed up, though, like, they're saying she has 2 DUIs, felony drug possession, and a history of drug abuse. I mean, who wouldn't if this happened to them? Now, the question is, who did this to them? And so, basically, she had no idea who this guy was. And then she watched The Apprentice and all of a sudden recognized him. Now, I don't know how many people do not know who Trump is, even in the 90s. I mean, I don't know. But there are issues there. Anyway, moving on to Sascha Riley here. There are some serious issues here as well. Welcome, Sarah Catherine. One of the first is, of course, Jim Jordan. So, Jim Jordan wasn't just a wrestler. I mean, this guy was a champion wrestler in college. Man, the YouTube lag. Ridiculous. Okay. So, champion wrestler. So, he was 20 years old when Riley is alleging that he was part of this SRA and snuff films and all this crazy insanity with kids getting abused and murdered and all that in Tennessee and Alabama. Again, not really known hotspots of either Trump or Epstein. And also, Jim Jordan, no connections to Tennessee or Alabama either. So, okay. He's claiming that these encounters were all filmed and took place between 1982 and 1986. So Jordan would have been 20 years old, not just training, but I mean seriously, he's in college, he's 20 years old. I mean, there are issues here. There are issues here. There's just serious issues with these claims. Unlike Bonacci, whereas with Paul Bonacci, everything he says lines up with the timelines, the politicians involved. Even his Bohemian Grove story lines up chronologically. He's got photographers backing up his story. He's got multiple other individuals backing all of this up, even independent of the Johnny Gosch case. If you guys want to really see some spiraling coincidence theorist goofs, just these mentally disabled goofs spiraling, not understanding basics, go to the compromised Johnny Gosch subreddit. Reddit.com/ /r/Johnny Gosh. Just a lot of goof spiraling. You would think in the post-Epstein era, some of them would get some kind of a clue, but it's almost like there's some kind of paid campaigns to just disinfo campaigns in certain cases. Johnny Gosh, Maura Murray, of course, John Benet Ramsey. South to West, welcome in the chat, says TDS is chronic, invasive, and largely incurable. Well, here's the thing. I mean, Riley's claims kind of match Bonacci's claims in terms of these circles of DC individuals. It's just the names are just kind of weird, especially Jim Jordan. I mean, this one is, it stretches credulity. I don't want to spam logical fallacies, but if anybody can prove any kind of Jim Jordan ties to Tennessee, Alabama in those years, I mean, it's just tough. I mean, what did they do? Does he have a wrestling meet in those states and then they just snatch him away to do some SRA and videos with Trump and Epstein, who there's no evidence they even knew each other back then? I mean, Epstein's movements are quite documented. I mean, it's not like people didn't know about him, and so are Trump's. I mean, Epstein and Trump were not gallivanting around Alabama and Tennessee to anybody's knowledge. So if you're claiming, like, secret flights and all this stuff, I mean, maybe, but you got to provide some kind of evidence. It just doesn't match known info. If this is true, there would have to be new information and new evidence introduced with all of this. But so far, nobody has done so. Unless they have, people can link to it. I haven't seen anything. So, yeah, actually, so Riley, it's not 81, 82 to 86 are the allegations from Riley. And so Epstein just started his consulting firm in 81. So he might not even have any money in 81, 82. So, so according to the official narrative and the official records, Epstein started making big money in 1987 with Hoffenberg in Manhattan. And that was around the time, 86, 87, when he's meeting up with Waxner. And then all of the shady stuff happens after that. So, I mean, I haven't seen any evidence of Epstein doing anything with trafficking. I mean, 2000, there's some pretty definitive evidence around 2000. And there's some rumor, some evidence and rumors from the 90s. I haven't seen anything in the 80s. If anybody has anything in the 80s, I mean, bring it forth. I'll go over it. I'll logically analyze it. But it almost seems like if this is true, if Riley's allegations are true, he just plugged in Trump, Epstein, Jim Jordan, and possibly these others. I don't know that much about Clarence Thomas or Lindsey Graham, but again, is there any evidence Trump knew Epstein in the 80s, in the early 80s? I mean, what? Is there any evidence that Epstein was directly involved in all this trafficking in the early 80s? In the 2000 plus, yes, a ton. In the 90s, some. In the 80s, I think it's virtually zero. I think there are even zero allegations or even rumors other than Riley. Riley's the first, I believe. If anybody in the chat wants to jump in here. So both Epstein and Trump's movements and business activities are well known. And I postulated a theory as well that Epstein, this potential Mossad asset, he only became, let's say the Mossad found out about all of this blackmail rings and all this stuff with the SRA and snuff films and all that, and they just had Epstein insert himself to get involved in this and start, the blackmail campaigns, because it was already, obviously it already existed with the Franklin scandal, Bohemian Grove, all of these. I did 9.5 hours of receipts on prosecuted cases, even with video evidence, with VHS evidence back in those days. It was VHS. So for the goofs that hallucinate that there's no SRA out there, I mean, obviously, they're pretty clueless. The coincidence theorist, authority-worshipping cultist bootleggers out there. Flat Bob says MK Ultra to yes. Yeah, I mean, very possible. And then they just had him plug in these names. And he might fully, if he's MK Ultra, he might fully believe the names they made him plug in. I mean, the Jim Jordan is just out there. I mean, if it was later years, I mean, okay, but this early, I mean, what connections did Jim Jordan have at 20 years old to be hanging out with billionaires? I mean, his father worked at a General Motors plant, coaching wrestling in Little League. His mother operated a house cleaning business in Ohio. So, I mean, I don't know. I don't know. Are there some vast Jim Jordan conspiracies? I mean, I know all about that shady stuff that came later. All those allegations that came later. I mean, he only graduated high school in 1982. And he seemed to be pretty busy. He won state championships all 4 years he was in high school. He was 156-1. Quite the impressive record, Jim Jordan. Then he went to University of Wisconsin-Madison. And two-time NCAA Division I wrestling champ. He won the 85 and 86 NCAA championship matches. And he lost the semifinal at the 88 Olympic trials. So I don't know. I mean, when did he get involved? And the scandal. So he was assistant coach from 87 to 95. Ohio State wrestling assistant coach during the scandal. Let's see here. Investigation. So Strauss, the wrestling team physician, abused 177 student patients, 143. Okay. Yeah, I don't want to go through the details here. This is dark stuff. So, several people stated that Jordan knew of the misconduct but did not report it. At least one victim named Jordan as knowledgeable. No one has ever accused Jordan himself. Yeah, so that's curious. That's definitely curious. So, I mean, was Jordan himself abused? I mean, I don't know. In which case, then he would definitely have known about it. If he wasn't, then potentially he would not have known about it. But either way, I mean, let's see here. He was elected to the House in 1994. And he was assistant coach through 95 for Ohio State. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know when he would have the time to be doing like private jet flights if he's practicing and also coaching. When is he doing these private flights on these private jets with Trump and Epstein to Alabama? Unless the allegation is if he's got a meet there. I mean, I'm sure somebody could pull up the meet schedules to see if it lines up. But then, isn't he celebrating with his teammates? So wouldn't his teammates know if he was just whisked away by Trump and Epstein? Flat Pop says, could have been a clone. Wow. Are we going there? Oh, wow. Wow. You got me there, Flat Pop. If they're testing celebrity clones and they already had Jim Jordan's future mapped out, you know what? I mean, I didn't even think of that. Wow, Flat Bob. If you haven't checked out the Altered History episode on celebrity DNA cloning programs, check that out. You know what? If they were doing that, if they were cloning programs, then some of this could potentially make sense. because that would account for the real individual or individual A if they're not the real one. And because, yeah, some people say even Trump had, died in a plane crash, what, in the 80s or something? The 80s or 90s. So this Trump might not be the real one, if there is a real one. But, yeah, I'm not going to go down those rabbit holes for the purpose of this episode. But yeah, I mean, these are very disturbing claims by Riley, and they really do match up with Bonacci. So